It is time to discuss one of the most popular archer commanders in Rise of Kingdoms. That is Nebuchadnezzar II. Today I'll be giving you an in-depth guide including talents, pairs, skills, and more for Nebuchadnezzar, and if you should even consider investing in him. Okay everybody, welcome back if you're not new here. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I upload daily Rise of Kingdoms content. I like to cater my channel mostly towards archer commanders since that's where my expertise is. Today we'll be going over Nebuchadnezzar II. If you're interested in any other commanders, the playlist will be linked in the description. Alright, before we go over anything, let's go over his skills. This is probably the most important part of any commander. So his active skill, 1500 damage factor, 2 up to 5 targets in a forward-facing fan-shaped area. This is actually really nice. I think this damage factor is pretty good. It's a tad below YSG actually, who is actually unlocked at the start of the game, and YSG is in a circle, so that's a bit of a bummer. But his second skill, 30% archer defense, which is really nice. I think that's just great base stats right there. Gives him a bit of tankiness. And then the 15% march speed is also really good, on par with like Cyrus there, who also has 15% march speed. Third skill is a rally skill, so when this commander leads a rally attack, counter-attack damage is increased by 10%, and incoming attacks have a 10% chance to deal direct damage to the attacker, damage factor 800 when maxed, and reduce the attacker's march speed by 30%. So that's actually nice, that's good for rallying. I like the counter-attack you get, I like the revenge damage, and I don't know why the march speed's there, but I guess it's just the debuff that you deal to them. I mean, if someone's swarming you like a whale and they hit you and this skill triggers, then you get that march speed reduction and they can't really run away as quick. But then again, it's not that useful. But everything else there is very nice, and I guess that's just an added bonus. Fourth skill, troops led by this commander deal 15% increased damage, which is all damage, and each normal attack has a 10% chance to reduce the target's rage by 100. This effect can trigger once every 3 seconds. I like the all damage, I like the rage reduction, this is a very nice skill. And then his final expertise skill, really nothing changes here except he gets to deal some additional damage to the current target he's hitting, just 500 more damage factor. Alright, so simply put, the best skills for Nebu are quite simple. First up, the active skill is really important. I really like this 1500 damage AOE, and that's definitely a must-have if you're investing in Nebu. Second skill is also really good, so I think the 30% defense is important, especially if you're going for open field. Now, if you're a really, really cheap, I guess, free-to-play player who doesn't want to go too hard on Nebu at the moment, then maxing the first 2 skills, getting a 5-5-1-1 Nebu, just like I have here, is perfectly fine. I've gotten myself like 3.6 million kills with it, and I barely used him, so, I mean, it's a pretty good combo. Alright, so if you're thinking, I want to go a bit past 5-5-1-1, I really want to be as field capable as possible with Nebu, I think the best skill to go for after getting max first 2 skills for the open field is maxing the last skill. This all damage is really nice for his AoE, it makes his AoE a bit more punchy, and then I really do like the rage reduction, it's something that gives him a little bit of viability besides just being a pure damage commander. Now that's where you would stop as a free-to-play. I say getting a 5-5-1-5 Nebu, max first skill, max second skill, skip third skill, max fourth skill, is perfectly fine. After that, there's no point of investing in him. But you do have to get lucky in getting that final skill. If you're going for rally, of course, then at that point you will max everything and expertise him because, you know, you don't want to get your kingdom a bunch of dead troops because you're trying to be stingy on gold heads. So, max Nebu if you're rallying. If not, 5-5-1-5 is perfectly fine for the open field. Now, before we go over some pairs, I'm going to go over his talents. This is basically the best talent tree for Nebu. You want the rage because he really just wants to be throwing his active skill. Obviously, it's his best skill. And then, other than that, latent power is only okay if you've expertised him, and then you could consider dropping Razor Sharp, or if you have him behind like a Cyrus or a Ramses. But other than that, latent power is not very good with Nebuchadnezzar. I don't like Naked Rage because I've just never liked it due to the damage you take in return. I mean, you could consider it for Nebu just purely because of the fact that Nebu is all about dealing skill damage. Then Naked Rage could be considered. I still prefer to have a bit more tankiness though. I do always get Buckler Shield. It's one thing I always recommend if you've got Conquering Tree. It's probably one of the only good talents there, and the only reason I love it is that counter-attack. is actually really nice, the reduction. And I mean, you get some stats on the way there. It's like 2% attack, so it could be worse. You could consider going for this 0.5 health over, I mean, I wouldn't really go over the 1%. You could possibly shave a point off here. Other than that, I don't know if it's worth it. So this is Nebu's best talent. If you're going to go without Feral Nature and you're doing weird combos that you don't really want to gain rage on, like a Nebu Thutmose, then I guess you could just go all in on Archertree and just not get any rage talents. So then just go down here and get Buckler Shield. And then just get stuff that just makes you deal more damage without gaining rage. You just get some reduced damage. And then in this situation, if you're not going for rage building, then I would say probably Naked Rage is okay. Just since you need to put your points somewhere. Going for some more stats. This isn't really optimal. I'd get this as well. I think March Speed, definitely yes. And then just drop the last points in here. This is probably his better talent build. I mean, you could take this 0.5% health off for an extra % of attack, but I think the health is still better in the end. That's his build if you don't want to gain rage for whatever reason, like you're using Nebu Thutmose and you're a bit crazy, then I would recommend this build. Alright, so pairs for Nebu, there are like a couple pairs. So for field, main pair that everyone's heard about is Nebuchadnezzar for primary, YSG secondary. I do think this is nice. I've used it a little bit. I didn't use it too much. But I think YSG's got better positions nowadays, especially with Henry. I think Henry YSG is absolutely killer. So if you do have the choice between a Nebu and a Henry and a Mightiest Governor, honestly, if you're going to invest in one of them and you're not trying to rally or anything, I think Henry's just better nowadays. He's got more stats, he's got more damage, he's got March Speed, he's also got just on-field revenge damage. So I think Henry's better than Nebu. That's why I think 𝐸𝐸 Nebuchadnezzar is kind of fallen off. But if you've only got Nebu and you've only got 𝐸𝐸, then it's a fine pair. Another pair I've seen, and I've actually tried quite a bit, was Nebuchadnezzar and Cyrus. I didn't like this. I think it was too squishy, but it was very fast. I've recommended it for Altar. So if you're doing Altar battles and you want a fast, quick, instant damage march, then Nebuchadnezzar primary, Cyrus secondary is kind of insane. I'm not even joking. I was hitting Nevskis and then outrunning them. It was super crazy. The 30% total march speed is just mental. And then if you go all in on the Archer tree, you get a bunch more march speed from these talents here. And then you can get some march speed down here as well. Where is it? It's here. Yeah, there you can get march speed there as well. So that's actually really nice. And you're just running around so quickly, dealing high skill damage and getting out of there. In the actual open field though, where you don't really want to be separated from your marchers, then the only thing Nebuchadnezzar and Cyrus has is getting away from battles. But then if you're going into a battle, they hit first and it gets a bit messy with skill cycles and stuff, and I don't like the extreme amounts of march speed in that situation. Now another field combo, probably technically his best field combo, would be Boudica primary and then Nebuchadnezzar secondary. Nebu's AoE is nice, Nebu's got march speed, defense, and he has a nice OK debuff. And Boudica's just, well, she's Boudica, she's got amazing damage, etc, etc. I'm not going to go over in too much depth. But Boudica primary and Nebuchadnezzar secondary is also a great pair. And then a pair that I was considering using was Gilgamesh primary and then actually Nebuchadnezzar secondary. Gilgamesh is tanky, as we know. He's got damage reduction, he's got health, he's got all damage when people are weaker. He makes him take more skill damage and he takes even less damage when you max him. And he's got a gnarly debuff. So Gilgamesh is only lacking really in march speed. And Nebu has march speed, and he also has more damage, and a little bit more tankiness with the defense, which Gilgamesh actually doesn't have defense, so the stat's actually more valuable in this situation. And then all damage, Gilgamesh has a little bit, but only if they're below 50%. So in that situation, I do like Nebu and Gilgamesh, and I'm still considering it, but I have Gilgamesh and Mehmed, so it's a bit of a tough choice. Now, a few pairs I've seen discussed that I'm not a fan of. There's two, really. The first, which I mentioned around the start of the video, was Nebuchadnezzar and Tamara secondary. I think this just doesn't work. I've discussed before why I don't like Tamaris behind a commander who wants to gain rage. And really it's just because she doesn't get the debuff. If I'm bringing a Tamaris to the field, I'm not going in there to deal open field damage and trying to smash my enemy with ridiculous skill damage, I'm going in there to debuff with my Thutmose. So when you've got a Thutmose, I want to put her behind a commander who's not rage reliant, and Nebu is really gaining way more value from having a high rage meter and gaining rage fast. That's why I don't like Nebu Thutmose. Also, I think Thutmose has better pairs with more single target damage, just because Nebu also benefits some other commanders way more. Now, a final pair I've seen discussed, and it was actually in a top 10 list of like another Rise of Kingdoms YouTuber, was Nebuchadnezzar Amanitore. I mean, Amanitore is one of those commanders where she's really only got one or two very good pairs, and I just don't think she works well with other commanders. I understand she has okay damage factor, and she makes them take, she does increased all damage and stuff. And she has some revenge AOE, and when you max her, she reduces the target's rage, which is probably why people used her with Nebu, just because having the double rage reduction is pretty nice. I just think that Amanitore has better positions, especially behind Artemisia. So I just don't think that putting an Amanitore with Nebu is worth it, considering other investments you could make in other commanders. If you're whaling, then yes, you could consider Amanitore with Nebuchadnezzar, but if not, and you're not blowing tons of money on the game, then it's probably not worth using that pair, and there's just better options out there for Nebu, and even then there's just better options than Nebu. Now, before I go over the equipment for Nebuchadnezzar, I just want to say I'm launching an official Discord for this channel, so if you're interested in supporting the channel, the link for the Discord will be in the description of this video, and I've also made a community post about the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, I'll be active almost every day on it. If you have any questions that you don't really want to ask in video comments, you can put them there. It's just a great way to interact with the community, and also just kind of chill place to relax and talk about Rise of Kingdoms content. Now, Nebuchadnezzar's equipment is quite simple. For accessories, I would say for Nebu, Ring of Doom, 100%. The all damage is really good. If you get it to trigger before his active skill, it's amazing, because it's just done 50% all damage, 1500 damage AOE is great. Now, another thing I really like on Nebu is Horn of Fury. Because I've said many times in this video, Nebuchadnezzar needs rage, and I think Horn of Fury gives a good amount of rage. That's why I think it works great with Nebu. Now, another consideration for an accessory is the Pendant of the Eternal Night. I've heard people debating that this is quite good for Nebu. Now, do I think it's worth 160 legendary materials? Maybe not, but more skill damage on Nebu is nice. However, I think that he's probably going to benefit more from a horn or more from a ring than he is going to from a Pendant of the Eternal Night. And I'm pretty sure you can only get, you could get this on Barbarian Keeps. So if you somehow only have this available and you don't want to buy another accessory and you've got it from Barbarian Keeps, then possibly it may be worth the materials at that point. But then again, you could just make equipment. Free-to-play accessories are quite easy. Silent Trail is the main priority as a free-to-play. You always want to have a Silent Trail if you don't have any legendary accessories. And then the secondary accessory you could go with that is Delane's Amulet, purely because Delane's Amulet is just making it a bit more tanky. It's kind of like a buckler shield, but as an accessory. If you only have the choice between one, of course, I would say Silent Trail, and then I would go for a Call of the Loyal just to fill in the accessory slot, or possibly an Ancient Stratagems if you have that as an option. Now, to get Nebuchadnezzar sculptures, he can be gotten through the Mightiest Governor event, so only Mightiest Governor, or you can also get him through the Legendary Tavern. We're going here. Nebuchadnezzar is right there. That's Moctezuma. There's Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar's in the Legendary chests. He is also in the Heart's Desire event, and he should be coming as the next set of commanders into the daily special offer with Cyrus. However, this isn't confirmed, but if we follow the rules, Cavalry, Infantry, Archers, Leadership, Cavalry, Infantry should be Archers next, so we shall see where that goes. Now, should you invest in Nebuchadnezzar as a free-to-play player in Rise of Kingdoms? The short answer is nope. He has lost his, sparkle since he was released. He now is really just a pure damage commander. Yes, he still does alright on the open field, and he's an okay rally, especially with Henry, because it makes him a bit tanky. But there are new commanders coming, and I think that Nebu is just not worth the gold heads if you're looking to make a sound investment that's going to last you at least 2 to 3 years. At this point, I think if you're investing in any Archer commanders, you should be waiting, But if you have to invest right now, I think Nebu just is not the choice. If you want to hear more about me talking about why Nebu just isn't a good investment anymore, I've got a card on the end screen of this video which will take you to another video where I discuss why Nebuchadnezzar is no longer a good investment. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please just check out the Discord channel, it's all I ask. I think it's going to be a great way for us to all interact as one community. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.